As I've said before, it seems that in this post-Attitude Era, any time a wrestler starts getting pops, the fans automatically want to make him world champion. You know, like Carlito's getting pops, make him world champion. Matt Hardy's getting pops, make him world champion. Jeff Hardy's getting pops, make him world champion. Daniel Bryan's getting pops, make him world champion. But the thing about all this is, why? Why? I mean, just because a wrestler's getting pops, and just because you might like him, that doesn't automatically mean he's suitable to be world champion. Likewise, just because a wrestler doesn't become world champion, doesn't mean he can't be great. After all, icons like Roddy Piper, Mr. Perfect, and Ravishing Rick Rude were never WWE champion. And Daniel Bryan becoming champion doesn't automatically make him an icon. So what's with this fanboy mentality? You know, I think we need to reevaluate what makes a wrestling legend. Let's look at one of the most iconic wrestlers in wrestling history, Jake the Snake Roberts. Now, as noted in the latest issue of WWE Magazine, Jake the Snake has never won a Royal Rumble, never won a King of the Ring, never held any WWE title, and yet he is going to the Hall of Fame. Indeed, here we have a guy who's never been world champion, never been Intercontinental champion, never been tag champion, never won any Royal Rumble, never won any King of the Ring, spent his WrestleManias fighting guys like Rick Martel, and never really moved beyond the mid-card. So, by today's fanboy standards, that makes him a loser, right? That makes him a loser. That makes him inferior to Big E Langston because Big E Langston is Intercontinental Champion, right? That makes him inferior to Jack Swagger because Jack Swagger is a former world champion, right? No! As we all know, it's the other way around. As an icon of the sport, Jake the Snake currently towers over guys like Big E Langston and Jack Swagger, and I don't even think they would disagree with that. But how could this be? How is this possible? How can someone who's never really won anything like Jake the Snake tower so tall? It's because today's wrestling fans have their values all mixed up, right? Listen, Vince Russo could become a 10-time world champion and still never measure up to Jake the Snake. It's not just about giving popular wrestlers title reigns. It's about leveraging a wrestler's strengths with appropriate pushes that may or may not involve title reigns. As people in the industry have said, even though Roddy Piper was never world champion, he never really needed it. And the same holds true for Jake the Snake. Like many of you, I can't even imagine Jake the Snake holding a title belt. You know, it just doesn't fit. You know, he's not that type of character. He's not flashy, you know, like a Shawn Michaels or a John Cena holding a spinny belt, you know? He was more like the opposite of that. Jake the Snake was the anti-Shawn Michaels. He was the anti-John Cena. He was this unglamorous, no-nonsense, blue-collar, straight shooter that would just walk down to the ring and took care of business, right? You never really saw him like, well, look at me, you know? He wasn't like that. When he came down to the ring, he had no costume, no headgear, no pyro, no fancy entrances, but yet, somehow we loved him. He had us in the palm of his hands, his finger, literally. All he would do was twirl his finger in the air, and we'd be like, yeah! You know, like, he had us trained. Literally, he had us trained with his finger. His one little finger generates more pops than most of today's roster. You know, think about that. Think about what makes a wrestler truly popular. And it's not just bright colors, fancy entrances, and pyro. But despite his immense popularity, the WWE never gave Jake the Snake Roberts a title reign. They never gave him a Royal Rumble, they never gave him a King of the Ring, and they never let him out of the mid-card. Does that mean the WWE used Jake the Snake improperly? No! In fact, the opposite is true. Jake the Snake's WWE run is legendary because the WWE recognized the nature of the character and leveraged its strengths, which does not necessarily include winning the title. Right? As this no-nonsense, unglamorous everyman, Jake the Snake was paired up against cocky assholes like the $1 Million Man, Ravishing Rick Rude, and the model Rick Martel to unforgettable results. I mean, who could ever forget Jake the Snake pulling down Rick Rude's pants in the middle of the ring and Rick Rude's like flopping around on the ground? That stuff's classic. And as a heel, Jake the Snake's spine-tingling promos were put to use as he tormented the Ultimate Warrior and the Macho Man. This was a WWE run that did not need a title reign in order to be good. The WWE found a perfect spot for Jake the Snake in the company, and he thrived in it. Which brings us back to Daniel Bryan. He's been getting pops. People like his yes chant. But even if you like Daniel Bryan, should he become world champion? Is that his role in the company, to be the face of this company? Think about it. Here we have this pale, undersized guy who looks like the Berserker's maniac little brother coming out to silly theme music, pointing his fingers in the air. Yes, 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 yes. You want that to be world champion? The face of the company? You serious? Okay, now let's just say he does win the world title. Now what? Is he a legend like Jake the Snake now? No, not necessarily. Because what's good for the wrestler does not necessarily involve a title win. It's all about finding a spot in the company that's right for the wrestler and putting the right people around him so that he can thrive there. Putting Daniel Bryan up against guys like Batista and Triple H, does that come across to you as the same level of quality matchmaking as Jake the Snake and Ravishing Rick Rude? No, doesn't feel like it. So in my opinion, it's not just about pushing your favorite wrestler into the main event and having him beat whoever the world champion happens to be. A title win doesn't necessarily guarantee legend status, and becoming a legend doesn't depend on winning a title. Guys like Jake the Snake and Razor Ramon winning the world title would seem out of place. It wasn't their role in the company. But nevertheless, they're going to the Hall of Fame. So I think some fanboys need to rethink this single-minded thought process of, me like that guy, put him in main event, make him world champion, and reconsider for what truly makes a good character and a good product. In fact, I think the opposite has been true. I think that shoving people in the main event scene has been a detriment to the product. I think that Dolph Ziggler, Jack Swagger, Jeff Hardy, and others should have never become world champions when they did. And even CM Punk's first world title reign was way too early. Like I said in previous videos, I think this whole money in the bank concept has been doing more harm than good to the product. So, yeah, I think some fanboys need to rethink for what truly makes for good characters and a good product. Does the WWE reluctantly putting the world title on Daniel Bryan, is that really for the best? I got my doubts on that.